right now, are you currently going through an identity shift? Well, that's currently what I'm experiencing right now. So in this video, I'm going to take you on a journey with me to Manila to go revisit an old identity and give you some tips and ideas on how to reinvent yourself and identify yourself with a new identity. Hello, and welcome to Reborn Mind, Body, Soul. My name is Matthew Muskeen, and if you're watching this, you believe in new beginnings and becoming your own ultimate superhero. Now, always I love sharing with you what I'm currently going through and my experiences with going through that experience. So right now I'm in Manila experiencing an identity shift, and I want to leave with you in this video some techniques to help you shift your identity. So go ahead and click that subscribe button below, and without further ado, let's get into the video. First thing we want to know is our identity, who we identify with internally. This is massive. We have to know this. Now, I've been on manifestation and power of attraction for a long time, and I've been making it work, but this is really a groundbreaking moment, is to understand that our internal identity governs everything. So say, for example, I'm trying to identify with gaining muscle, for example, what I'm doing right now. I have to identify with a person internally that gains muscle, or vice versa. If you want to lose weight, you have to identify internally with someone that is able to lose weight. So if we don't shift our internal reality, our external reality will soon just come back to our internal reality. All right, so we're always trying to control the external factors in our life, but this is the key. Just the fact that you're aware of this is going to give you a leg up. But in actuality, it's the internal factors in our life that will make everything change. So what we need to understand is that the external factors do not determine our ultimate destination. Just because where we're at right now does not mean that's going to be where we are for the rest of our lives. So this is really what I'm trying to get across right now, is first in the identity understanding is we have to understand what internal belief systems we have, what identity are we identifying with within ourselves. So another key concept to understand is that if your external results start to exceed your internal identity, eventually you'll find a way to come back down. So to give you an example, if you're someone that, or you may know someone that has tried to quit cigarettes, or someone that's tried to lose weight, or someone that's tried to get money, or some sort of any of these type of areas, what you'll find is if they haven't changed the internal identity as someone that, hey, I no longer smoke cigarettes, like that's just not even my reality, they'll often come back to smoking cigarettes, and that's because the internal identity hasn't changed. So for years, I've been working on law of attraction, affirmations, and a lot of these techniques have worked for me, but unconsciously, what I didn't realize was I was also shifting at the identity level. But a big actualization that I've come to just recent in these days is that if I don't shift at the identity level, none of these techniques are going to work. They actually become irrelevant. So I have to change who I am at the source. See, what I was doing before was trying to change who I was at the surface level, but I have to go down to the root at the identity level and actually change who I align myself with and who I see myself and who I'm becoming. All right, so we have multiple different identities. We've got our friends' identities, who our friends see us and who we think we are around our friends. We've got family identities. We've got physical identities. We've got financial identities. We've got multiple different identities that we identify with in our life. And this is what we have to do, like a self-audit on, is find out who we are identifying with and what does this new person we have to identify with to get the results that we want in our life. All right, so now let's get into the actual strategies on how to shift your identity. Now, some of these may make sense to you and they may be common sense, or you may have heard these strategies before, but if you key in this information with changing yourself at an identity level, this will really start to make sense. So the first strategy I want to talk to you about is putting yourself around someone who has the identity that you want. Now, we all have heard that saying, you become the 5 people you surround yourself with, and that those people actually have influence on us. So what actually starts to happen is, say that they have the actual core identity that you're after, what will happen is naturally they'll start having an effect on you. Now this could be good or bad depending on who you surround yourself with, but if you strategically put yourself around someone that has the identity that you want, you'll soon naturally start identifying with their identity. So for the next strategy, what I recommend is changing your look somehow, whether that be coming and getting like a haircut, changing your identity. Exterior will also help you identify with that new person you're becoming. So whether that be getting that new watch, a new shirt, a new outfit, come change your identity. And what that will do is signal to your brain like, oh yeah, now that I'm in this look, now I'm this new person. All right, so for the next strategy, what you got to do is you have to let go of what's no longer serving you. So sometimes in our life, we've had a certain behavior, a certain thought pattern, a certain emotion to get us to desired result in our past. But that may have worked for then, and that got us that current result, but it may not be serving us now. So is there someone you hang out with, an environment you go to, a function, people, conversations at work, a certain thought pattern that doesn't serve you any longer? What are you holding on to? So this exercise that I just thought of, that I came up with, was what I want you to do is write on a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, draw a line down the middle. So you have 4 quadrants. Write on the top quadrant, thoughts. Write on the next quadrant, emotions. Write on the next quadrant, behaviors, and people or environments. And then in the middle of the crosshairs, write old. So what are the old patterns, the old emotions, the old thoughts, the old people that you're hanging out with right now that's not serving that new identity? And then on the following piece of paper, do the exact same thing, but write on the crosshairs, new. And what this will do is you can look at yourself and say, okay, this is where I'm at currently. And once I've identified with who I want, I've identified my goals and who I want to become, then what are the traits? What are the characteristics? What are the thought patterns? What are the emotions? And once you do that, you have a bit more clarity. Things are always easier when it's away from us. So you have clarity on what is no longer serving you and what traits you got to acquire to get basically unstuck. All right, and finally, the last strategy of honestly many of strategies, but what story are you currently telling yourself? So often we can get caught in our past. So this was a really big turning point. What negative story is currently playing inside yourself? Or evidently, what positive story are you keep playing inside yourself? So for example, a story that I kept identifying is like, I now got sober. But like 5 years down the line, I don't identify with sober or drunk. It's just not even an identity. It's just a way of being. But before, for about 3 years on my journey of sobriety, I really identified with I'm a sober guy. I'm Mr. Sober. But what I found was that wasn't really conducive to the people I was meeting and to my environment. But oddly enough, because my identity has shifted, I no longer am actually attracting any of these situations that I even have to identify with a sober person. So what I'd ask yourself is, where can you be aware of what stories that no longer serve you in your new identity are playing inside your mind that you can now let go? And rather than look back, look forward. Talk about now or talk about the future, where you're going, what's happening for your future identity, and focus the energy moving forward. All right, and that's that. That's the end of the trip to Manila. Spent 4 days here. It was an absolute awesome time. Went back and revisited some old identities and some old ways of thinking, and touched upon just a couple of techniques. Now there's a lot of things we can be doing to shift our identity, but to conclude this video, hopefully you've got some strategies and understand to really make change, we gotta change at the core level, at the identity level. And then our outer reality can absolutely start matching our inner reality. But it's not until we can define that inner identity where things really start to shift. So hopefully you got some benefit from it. Leave a like button if you got some benefit, and also leave a comment. Let me know what identity you're currently at and what identity you're trying to shift. And as always, with that being said, I share my peace and I share my love.